of this year on US 131 there in Martin Township, Allen County, state of Michigan. It was a speeding citation on an actual 91 and a 70. However, the trooper only wrote this for 6 to 10 over on a freeway. You are here, Mr. Green, on this citation to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation, or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation as to how or why this happened, or three, you wish to contest this citation. In other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
Fight the ticket at an informal hearing, please.
All right. And even though I cannot see you, I'd ask you to raise your right hand the same way the trooper is going to raise his right hand. You swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, trooper, I didn't catch your audio there. Want to make sure it's up. Okay. So, Mr. Green, it makes a lot more sense for me to start with the trooper. He has the burden to establish to me why he issued you a citation in the first place. But then after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions or testify on your own behalf. All right?
Yes, sir.
With that, troopers, you want to pick up the narrative somewhere where it makes sense and explain the issuing of this citation.
Okay. On July 4th of 2023, I was on duty, working in a fully marked patrol car in uniform. My patrol car is equipped with a radar speed measurement device that's approved for use in the state of Michigan, and I am trained in the use of radar speed measurement devices. This particular device tested or passed all tests at the beginning and at the end of my shift. At approximately 2:22 p.m., I was conducting traffic enforcement on US 131 just south of 124th Avenue, Martin Township, Allegan County. I was sitting stationary, facing north. Again, at approximately 2:22, I observed a southbound vehicle that appeared to be exceeding the 70-mile-an-hour posted speed limit. Traffic was medium to heavy on this holiday afternoon. I activated the radar and obtained a tracking history of 91, 88, and 87. The radar was tracking this as the fastest vehicle. There were other targets as this visibly faster vehicle was passing other cars in the left lane. The audio matched the fastest speed readout, and there were no obstructions between the radar antenna and the numerous targets in front. Once the target vehicle, which was a white Dodge, passed my location, I turned into traffic, turned on the vehicle, following behind it southbound on 131. Once I caught up to it, north of 116th Avenue, I had a brief pace of 91 miles an hour on this vehicle. I effected a traffic stop for the speeding violation, identified the driver as Kevin Eugene Green, and his admission was he thought he was doing 81 miles an hour. I subsequently cited him for 80 in a 70-mile-an-hour zone.
Okay. And Mr. Green, what is it you'd like to tell me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, he said that he was tracking multiple cars at one time. I'm kind of confused that if he was tracking multiple cars at one time and they go on all different speeds, what made him assume that I was the one speeding?
Well, sir, he testified that the radar would give the speed of the fastest moving vehicle and that he visually identified your vehicle as the fastest moving vehicle. So the speed was for one car, not all the others.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. If I'm in the fast lane and another car is, if I'm in the right lane and another car is in the left lane and we're both side by side and it's another car coming right behind us, how can he determine which car is moving at which speed if we're right next to each other?
Okay, so I can say it one more time. The radar is going to give the speed of the fastest moving vehicle, then he's going to match that with which vehicle he is visually seeing as moving the fastest. He identified that as the white Dodge that he then pulled over that you were driving. He also testified that besides radar, he actually paced you while he was behind you and also had you at 91.
Well, I'm kind of confused because if I was speeding, the first thing he asked me when he pulled me over was,
well, let me ask you this, sir. Instead of we're going the long way, let's go the short way. How fast do you think you were going?
To be honest, I know I wasn't going no 91. I can't tell you how fast I was going a month or so ago, but I could tell you that I wasn't speeding and going that fast that he said I was. And if I was, why would the first thing you asked me when you pulled me over, like, who car does this belong? Who car is this? I felt racially profiled. Like you were pulling me over because of the car. You wasn't pulling me over because I was speeding. And if I was, you would have said something to me about speeding, not who car this is and who the car belonged to and why am I driving it. I was just kind of confused at that whole situation. It was multiple cars and I wasn't speeding. So I was just kind of confused. How did I get pulled over?
All
And
right.
if I'm getting pulled,
Sir, he also said that you testified that you thought you were going 81.
sir, I said anything I could to keep him calm and just everything normal. I wasn't going
All right.
81, 91 or anything like that. When was the last time the speedometer was even checked? Has the speedometer been checked anytime this year?
Well, you could ask him that, sir.
Well, I thought I was addressing the court. I didn't know I could speak to him directly. I'm sorry.
You could ask questions. So I'll refer the same question to that you're asking to the trooper because it's a relevant question. Trooper, you testified that was your radar was tested before and after your shift. What do you mean by that?
There's internal and external checks that we have to do on the radar to ensure that the display readout is accurate, that the speed readout is accurate, audio is accurate.
But that's your radar tested against your own speedometer in your patrol car when it runs that test, correct?
Correct. And the
Your
speedometer
speedometer is separately calibrated.
Yeah, the speedometer is calibrated at VTS, Vehicle Traffic Services, just before the vehicle's issued out to the field. It's only calibrated once unless there's some, I believe it's transmission work done on the vehicle. I believe there's one other situation, which my vehicle has not had either of those. So it's only been calibrated the one time when it was issued, and it's a 2020 model year. But we're not required to have it calibrated every year.
Anything further you wish to say, Mr. Green?
So if I'm not mistaken, if I heard you right, the car hasn't been calibrated for 3 years.
It's not required to by department policy.
Right. So us personally, we don't know exactly if the speedometer is right or what. I'm just going off you telling me verbally that you were chasing me or you were going 91 with me. How do you know if you were going 91 if your speedometer haven't been checked in 3 years?
Because I trust my speedometer.
So you just trust your car. You're just going off of what the car said. Correct. And not what's actually going on.
Well, okay. And my own experience of driving for 35 plus years, I know when I'm going faster than 70 miles an hour.
I mean, but how would you know that if you weren't 100% sure that your speedometer is correct? If my speedometer may be off, I mean, I've been in multiple cars where the speedometer is kind of giving me issues. But either way it goes, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's multiple cars side by side and your speed gun is pointed directly at the cars, how can your speed gun determine which car is going fastest?
This particular model of radar, it detects two things. It detects the strongest vehicle, and if I have the feature turned on, we'll just call it fastest, The radar will also give me a return of the fastest vehicle. So I'll get two returns, one of the strongest, which could be any of the other vehicles in that pack that was in my radar zone, including your vehicle. And then it also gave me the fastest readout, which me visually looking down the road, yes, I have to determine which vehicle the radar is assigning that fastest speed to. And so with my 23 years of experience as a state trooper, yes, I could tell it was the white Dodge that was going fastest within the radar cone zone that was doing that 91 miles an hour.
So when you said you could determine, does the gun give you like a description of the car, making a model of the car? This car is going 91 and the black car is going 92.
No, it doesn't. No,
So
it doesn't.
So you just like visualize it through your vision.
My training and experience, yes.
Okay, so you assumed that I was the person going fast, right?
No, I knew the white Dodge was exceeding the posted speed limit by a significant amount.
Let me reiterate, Mr. Green, we're spinning our wheels. Here's what happened. The trooper is watching cars. He already testified that visually he sees your car and he is able to say that it's moving faster than the speed limit. So what he does is hit it with the radar. The radar, which is calibrated before and after his shift, is in working order that day because it's calibrated against his speedometer, which is separately calibrated. It gives a visual reading to him, a tracking 91, 88, 87. Then it audio tones out. The audio tone matched the numbers. And then when he pulls behind you, he can pace you at 91. So in other words, 4 different ways he has you as speeding. He has more than met his burden for what I need to decide here at an informal. I would find you responsible on this citation as written. What you need to understand is because you had a contested hearing, you do have a right to say, I don't agree with what just happened there. You can contest this further to what's called formal hearing. To do that, you must ask for that in writing and you must ask for it within 7 days of today's date. Otherwise, that window of opportunity to contest this further closes. Do you understand your rights on appeal?
Yes, sir. Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
This goes to the state trooper. I'm just kind of confused that if you put me over for speeding, why is the first thing you ask me, who car is this? Why am I in this car?
I ask that of everybody I pull over. Mainly it's so when I ask for the registration, I'll know ahead of time if the name on the registration is going to be different, and then I'll know why it's different.
But that don't make any sense because you're already gonna know who the car belongs to once you run the plate and once I give you the registration. So you ask me.
I don't run the plate typically until after I pull somebody over, contact them, and then go back to my car. So just so I'm not like surprised that, hey, why is there a difference between who the driver is and who the vehicle's registered to? That's a standard thing I do for everybody I pull over.
But why does it matter who car it is? Or who belongs to it? Is it a law against?
That's outside of the scope of this. Again, it's so I'm not surprised.
It is. It's irrelevant, but I'm just
I felt
letting
like
him ask because I know what your answer is. I know that you're not asking him because of who he is. You're asking him because you would ask anybody that. But Mr. Green, we're all set here for purposes of hearing. Because I sit here and listen to officers do traffic stops all the time.
And it sounds like it's, sir, I just feel like this is one-sided. Like you gave me an opportunity to speak, but you're really not giving me an opportunity to speak or understand
sir, you're not asking any questions relevant to your speeding citation. I have to decide whether or not you were speeding that day.
Sir, if I got pulled over for speeding, why would an officer ask me who car is this? That sounds like I'm being profiled. That doesn't sound like you're pulling me over for speeding. Because if you pull me over for speeding, the first thing I'm gonna say to you, if I'm an officer, is, sir, do you know how fast you were going, or why were you going this fast? Or is everything okay in the car, or where are you headed to? I'm not going to ask you who car is this and why you're driving the car. I'm going to ask you why you were speeding.
I believe the trooper explained his answer, sir. I'm going to go ahead and release you. I have to move on to my next ticket.
So how do I appeal this? Do I appeal it through you, or do I just call the court?
I explained that, sir. You have to do it in writing within 7 days of today's date to the district court. Thank you.
I apologize. My name is Brandon Thornburg. I was called to report. I am running a little late, to my understanding as well. So I apologize for
Yes,
that.
sir. You failed to appear for your 9:40. You were defaulted,
Okay.
so you're all set.
Okay. All right. I apologize.
That's all right. Thank you.